back. Today is the highly anticipated American barbecue episode. We're going to talk about the meats and the history and the regions and the sauces and the emus. You'll see. We'll get into it. We're going to jump right in. Okay, so as per usual, we're going to scoot back in history. So the word barbecue first pops up coming from the root word barbacoa, which comes from the native Taino tribe and originally sort of meant a pile of sticks for drying fish or meat, or sometimes for sleeping. So there are some early writings where people are like, he slept on the barbecue. And nowadays we'd be like, what? But they were like, yes, a pile of sticks, of course. And the first descriptions of like cooking meat slowly over an open fire were recorded by European colonists, which is problematic, but it's the record we've got, and was referred to as native style. So it's safe to assume that what we consider barbecue has its roots in indigenous American cooking, which is cool and under-recognized, but here we are. So let's get into the definition of barbecue because listen, it is highly debated, but what's generally agreed upon is that barbecue involves a low heat over a pretty long time, which kind of makes sense. Back in early America days, animals were leaner, not fattened up like they are today, no shade. So roasting them low and slow was a way to tenderize that super lean meat and make it delicious. And this stayed true for a while. Pigs are definitely first on the scene as far as kind of domesticated farm animal meat, sorry bud, in the Americas, partially because if you didn't have enough to feed them, you could set them loose in the forest to like little pig forage for themselves. Cows, listen, they're great, beautiful, genius creatures, not known for hunting and foraging. So all of this leads to like whole hog style in the Carolinas. Now let's discuss sauce because it's a big deal. So what came to be known as Eastern Carolina style sauce is like a vinegar and pepper sauce, which definitely has roots in the Caribbean and can be traced back to the 1700s in the colonies. Then there's Lexington style, kind of Western North Carolina currently, which basically is Eastern style from before, but also with ketchup. Boop, boop, so cute. German immigrants are also now coming over and settling and super influential in this little region, and it said this kind of mimics the sweet and sour flavor dishes of Germany. So now we get to mustard sauce, which from my light polling seems very divisive. Also likely has roots with German and French immigrants, think Dijon, and it's combined with everything to create what we now know as Carolina Gold. So woo, that's Carolina style. It's a mouthful, a lot of feelings, a lot of opinions. Also, I'd be wrong to leave out, enslaved people around this time of colonization and the beginnings of American barbecue were largely the ones doing the cooking. While there hasn't really been barbecue as we know it found stemming from Africa, the African enslaved people became integral to the process of barbecuing as the earliest pitmasters and the one actually doing the cooking and improving the recipes and the methods. When enslaved people were emancipated on Juneteenth, many celebrated with barbecues. Lots of the names of these early pitmasters and talented cooks have been lost to history. We wouldn't have American barbecue as we know it today without them. So we've got the 13 colonies, say hi colonies, then barbecues become an important cultural event for politicians and community gatherings, sending men off to the Mexican-American War and then later the Civil War, put a little apple in his mouth, bone apple teeth, get it? So then we as a country start expanding off to the west, we say goodbye East Coast, and we slowly get the development of the three other main styles of barbecue. So let's start with Texas first. So early Texas had a ton of German immigrants as well, and the land to cultivate cattle, so they're like, okay, Carolina style, we see you, sounds good, we like the fire, low and slow, but we gotta get a brisket going. So for those not in the know, brisket is from a cow, specifically this part of the cow, and as I can tell you, we're all about the brisket, but we also love a sausage, also likely influenced by Eastern European immigrants. These are like coarsely ground sausage, comes with a fun little jalapeno cheddar kick in there. Sauce is optional, but almost always available, but just listen, cattle is king. Then we have Memphis, based on the Mississippi River, so back in the day, they were able to easily access a variety of goods, including molasses, so it kind of combined with the tomato stuff happening and led to the development of a sweeter Memphis-style sauce. But it's mostly pork there, cows, y'all stay in Texas. This style now is really centered around pork ribs. You can get them wet with sauce or dry with a spice mix, but there's also pulled pork and chopped pork and barbecue spaghetti there, and my own personal Memphis favorite, barbecue nachos with pulled pork. They are so good. That's me eating them all. And out of Memphis, a chef named Henry Perry scooted up to Kansas City in 1907 and opened a barbecue restaurant. He's really credited as the originator and father of Kansas City style. Basically, he followed the Memphis style, but he wasn't super picky about which meat got included. Kansas City was a meatpacking district on the river, so meat is your oyster, Henry Perry. So Kansas City style includes beef and pork and chicken and fish, and I don't know, emus or something probably. Really any meats, and according to expert Dottie Griffith, KC barbecue is the ultimate amalgamation of East and West barbecue. Very fancy. Kansas City today is really well known for burnt ends, which is the fatty end of a cut of brisket. So those are kind of the big four. This obviously isn't everything. There's also Alabama white sauce, which is sort of a mayo-based contraption, which might sound horrifying, but it was designed for barbecue chicken to avoid the chicken drying out. It also includes lemon juice and vinegar and black pepper. We've also got Kentucky style, really Western Kentucky, which is all about the mutton smoked with hickory and served with black Worcestershire sauce. I don't know how you say that word. There's also a Chicago style, which you might be like, Chicago, but in the 1930s, millions of African Americans migrated from the Mississippi Delta, bringing cooking styles and sweet sauces, but it's Chicago! Everybody's in the city, you can't do huge outdoor smokers everywhere or pit barbecue, so they developed these aquarium smokers, which is like a huge steel case with glass doors and a chimney. Then Hawaii comes in here, they've had their own custom of slowly cooking a whole hog underground dating back centuries, which is now known as a Kahlua pig. It's a whole process of digging a pit and lining it with wood and volcanic rock, and then covering it with banana stumps and leaves, and then the pig, and then more vegetation, and then it's all buried, and the whole thing cooks for several hours, and then is shredded. So in a nutshell, that's American barbecue. There's a whole lot more I know I missed, but let me know which one you think is best and why it's brisket from Lockhart, Texas. Oops, who, me? Biased? Alright, bye, love you. See you in 2 weeks for a summary of diamonds!